you're not saying you think Republicans are going to stop it.
I don't think Donald Trump wants another election. You think for a second I have 24 Trump 2028 hats.
A federal appeals court has delivered a significant legal blow to President Donald Trump, ruling that he exceeded his authority by using emergency powers to enact widespread tariffs. This landmark decision was hailed as a major victory by critics of the former president's economic agenda, most notably California Governor Gavin Newsom. Welcome viewers to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. In a strongly worded statement, Newsom's office framed the ruling as a complete vindication of California's own ongoing legal challenge, a lawsuit that has been a point of major contention between the state and the federal government. The court's decision, which now sets a new precedent, has been seen as a powerful rebuke of the Trump administration's approach to trade policy, an approach that was consistently criticized as being overly aggressive and lacking in proper legal foundation. The ruling now brings into sharp focus the constitutional limits of presidential authority and the role of the judiciary in acting as a check on executive power, particularly in matters of economic policy that traditionally fall under the purview of Congress. Legal experts across the nation have noted the historical significance of this case, emphasizing that it reasserts the fundamental principle of the separation of powers and prevents the executive branch from unilaterally wielding authority that rightfully belongs to the legislative branch. This judicial intervention is a critical development in the ongoing legal and political battles over presidential power, and its implications will likely resonate for years to come, influencing future administrations' approaches to trade and emergency declarations. The legal community is abuzz with analysis, with many scholars publishing articles and op-eds dissecting the court's reasoning and predicting its long-term impact on the balance of power. The decision is being viewed as a cornerstone of modern jurisprudence, a case study in how the judiciary can and should act as a bulwark against executive overreach. Newsom's scathing critique of Trump's economic legacy. Governor Newsom's official statement offered a blistering and comprehensive assessment of the economic consequences of Trump's presidency. He argued forcefully that Trump's policies, far from strengthening the nation, had swiftly and deliberately transformed a booming national economy into a stagnant one in record time. Newsom's critique centered on what he characterized as a war on affordability and small businesses, a conflict allegedly fought with unlawful and chaotic tariff schemes, and job and economy-killing immigration raids. He didn't just stop at broad accusations, he asserted that these policies had a tangible, negative impact that American families were already feeling the pain of through increased prices and widespread economic instability. The governor went on to detail how these actions, under the guise of national security, instead created a climate of uncertainty and disrupted supply chains, ultimately harming American consumers and producers alike. He pointed out that while Trump often touted his policies as beneficial to American workers, the reality was that they led to retaliatory tariffs from other nations, which in turn hurt U.S. exports, particularly in the agricultural sector, a vital part of California's economy. The governor's office provided a detailed breakdown of the economic distress, highlighting how small businesses, already operating on thin margins, were disproportionately affected by the sudden and unpredictable changes in trade policy. This instability made it nearly impossible for them to plan for the future, leading to layoffs and closures. The economic fallout was not just theoretical, it was felt in every corner of the state, from the farmlands of the Central Valley to the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. The governor's rhetoric was intentionally sharp, designed to highlight the human cost of the administration's policies. To substantiate his claims, Newsom's office provided specific, alarming figures that underscored the alleged harm. The statement projected that Trump's tariffs could collectively cost U.S. households up to $25 billion and lead to the elimination of more than 64,000 jobs in California alone. This granular focus on California's economy is particularly important, given the state's status as the world's fourth largest economy and a national leader in both agriculture and manufacturing. The statement also pointed out what it saw as a profound and unfair imbalance in Trump's fiscal priorities, providing massive tax cuts to his billionaire friends, while simultaneously slashing essential services like healthcare and food assistance for everyday Americans. This, according to Newsom, effectively placed a heavier financial burden on working families and small businesses, further destabilizing the economic landscape. The legal and economic arguments made by California reflect a deep-seated disagreement over both the substance and the implementation of national economic policy. This clash of ideologies and economic strategies has been a defining feature of the political landscape in recent years, with California consistently positioning itself in opposition to many of the former administration's most significant policies. The state's stance is not merely political, it is rooted in a deep concern for the economic well-being of its citizens and a belief that national policy should serve the interests of all Americans, not just a select few. The governor's office went a step further, releasing a series of white papers and economic reports to back up its claims, providing a comprehensive and data-driven indictment of the former president's economic stewardship. Legal validation of California's position and broader implications. The recent federal court ruling serves as a powerful validation of California's legal arguments, reinforcing the state's position and bolstering its lawsuit. On April 16, prior to this federal decision, Governor Newsom and Attorney General Rob Bonta had already taken proactive measures by filing a lawsuit. Their core legal argument was that the former president lacked the statutory authority to unilaterally impose tariffs under the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, IEEPA. They contended that these actions constituted a gross overreach of presidential power and caused immediate and irreparable harm to the state's economy. The IEEPA, they argued, was a tool designed for specific, targeted emergencies, not for the wholesale restructuring of global trade policy. The state's legal team meticulously built their case by citing historical precedent and legislative intent, arguing that Congress had carefully delineated the powers granted to the president under the IEEPA and that Trump's use of the act for broad-based tariffs was a clear circumvention of that legislative intent. The court's decision now gives significant weight to these arguments, suggesting that the judiciary agrees with California's interpretation of the law. This ruling marks a pivotal moment in the legal history of the IEEPA, setting a clear boundary for its application that was previously ambiguous. In a series of related rulings on separate lawsuits brought by private parties and other states, the Federal Appeals Court came to a strikingly similar conclusion. The court's findings directly challenge the scope of presidential authority, determining that the IEEPA does not grant the president unlimited power to impose tariffs and that Trump had indeed exceeded the scope of his emergency powers. This finding directly supports the foundation of California's lawsuit and strengthens its position moving forward. While the court's ruling did not immediately remove the tariffs, leaving them in place to allow for an appeal to the Supreme Court, the legal precedent has been irrevocably set. The ruling sends a strong message that a president's ability to use emergency powers for broad tariff implementation is not absolute and is subject to both judicial review and clear constitutional limits. The court's decision, therefore, represents a significant victory for the principle of limited government and the rule of law, as it reinforces that even the highest office in the land is subject to legal and constitutional constraints. This precedent will likely serve as a powerful deterrent to future presidents who might consider using similar emergency declarations to bypass Congress on matters of trade, thereby preserving the legislative branch's constitutional role. Constitutional implications. Reaffirming the balance of power. The legal battle over Trump's tariffs has brought to the forefront a key constitutional issue, the balance of power over trade policy. The court's decision is more than just a win for one state. It is a powerful affirmation that Congress, not the executive branch, holds the primary constitutional authority to levy taxes and tariffs. This serves as a vital check on presidential power and a significant victory for legislative authority in economic matters. The outcome of these ongoing legal challenges will have far-reaching implications, not just for trade policy, but for the fundamental separation of powers outlined in the U.S. Constitution. It underscores the principle that even in times of a declared emergency, a president's power is not without limits and must be exercised in strict accordance with the law. This ruling marks a significant moment in the ongoing national debate over the scope of presidential authority and the proper division of power among the branches of government. The decision is a stark reminder that the Constitution's system of checks and balances is designed to prevent any single branch from becoming too powerful, particularly when it comes to fundamental economic decisions that affect the entire nation. It reaffirms the judiciary's role as a final arbiter of constitutional disputes and a guardian of the checks and balances system. The court's meticulous legal reasoning and its firm stance against executive overreach will be studied by constitutional law scholars for years.